Now, those of you who watch my channel know that I very rarely, if ever, tell people, hey, sign this petition. Would you sign my petition? Please sign my petition. I only did it recently with Stellar Blade, and that is because I knew there's a high chance of it to work. And the reason for it was the huge number of people that were upset. The fact that a petition like that also brings a community together. People like doing activism, believe it or not. This is why the left is successful. People like forming networking and talking to each other for a common cause, regardless if it's a video game or not. And it was the person pushing the petition. It was Grooms, a well-established person within the AAA industry, much to the dismay and horror of journalists and other ideological shills. But also, he knew the CEO from Shift Up. So when he made the petition, a lot of journalists used their reputation in order to mock it, ridicule it. Oh, it's just a couple of weirdos on the internet. It got over 80,000 people that signed the petition. Like, that's insane. For a video game. For something like this. But what it did the most is that it got gamers to realize that we are the consumers. Companies want our money, and if they want our money, they have to struggle and work hard in order to get our money, and they can't just offend us constantly, time and time again. They have a team of psychologists, a team of experts that when they're not figuring out how to milk you of cash by adding extra loot boxes, by trying to convince you to sign up for the PlayStation Network account, they also know exactly who their target audience is and what their target audience wants. So when you see decisions that go literally against the target audience, it means that they're aware and they're doing it on purpose. And a lot of gamers are just absolutely and completely fed up with this. So not only did we see this Stellar Blade situation where the developers changed their mind, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but it's also so bad for Sony that when they thought, okay, well, we're going to get more people to sign up to PSN by making Hellblade, a very popular game, dependent to people making a PSN account with us. I mean, it will take like 1 minute. It's just 2 clicks. Like, surely gamers will do it. And much to their shock, dismay, and absolute horror, they realized that gamers were more likely to refund the game, to say, no, I'm not going to play this anymore, give it a bad review, than to make a PSN account. And I think like that may also influence the decision that we're seeing here, where you got where the developer said, you know what, you guys want these costumes, they're gonna be back in the game now. I genuinely do not know what happened behind closed doors. Like, people are trying to gaslight and say, oh, it's a conspiracy theory that Sony tried to censor. Dude, you don't know for sure either. Like, all you got is corporate PR statements. And I'm sorry if I don't trust for-profit, multinational corporations on what they have to say with their PR team. All I know is that Sony has a track record of censoring games. All I know is that Sony publicly stated that they censor games. I also know that when a company chooses a publisher, they sign NDAs, so they legally cannot talk about things. As such, yeah, like, looking at the situation, I can assume that the most likely suspect is Sony, and unless I'm giving access to read their personal emails and have access to their servers, I can't be proven otherwise. So it is safe to assume that, yeah, the situation is that Sony wanted to censor these costumes. There was backlash. The publisher himself, I mean, Shift Up, is obviously a company that's capable of making a profit and making money for Sony. And if they make a sequel, then if Sony wants them aboard, they can't be assholes to them. Like, this is not just some fringe game. Because take into account, when they signed the contract, when all of the censorship went down, they have no idea that Stellar Blade is going to sell. I mean, it could have been like a title that's somewhat mediocre to somewhat successful, but it turned out to be an absolute juggernaut. So I do think that with that, they have more negotiating power, and when they got Sony back on the table, they went like, look, our customers, our gamers want this. You need to give them this, otherwise, with our sequel, we're going to find a different publisher, or we're not going to do a PlayStation exclusive. that is a possibility. Like, debunk it. Seriously, if you don't believe that this is a possibility, debunk it, and I'll change my mind. But up until that point, I don't need like a court. This is not a criminal case or anything. It's just my opinion. And I'm telling you how I formulate my opinion. What I believe to be more likely, given what we saw in the past, given the state of the industry. If you think that this is a conspiracy theory, that Sony likes to censor games and that NDA contracts exist, and to believe something like this is out of the ordinary, good for you. I personally don't think so. And I know that I may be wrong, and chances are something else could have happened, but until I'm proven otherwise, this is how I made my opinion, and I'm justifying on why I have this educated guess. However, what's interesting is that some people weren't happy with the removal of the censorship, and they said that the costumes still are censored. Now, there's two groups of people. The first group of people are the ones that are upset that the censored initial costumes are still in the game, because apparently what Shift Up did is they allow you to choose. So you still have the original costumes, which were censored, but they also added extra costumes that aren't censored. So, like, you can pick and choose what you want, and some people are upset that the original censored costumes are still in the game. I mean, that's their autism acting up. I can't tell people what to think and what to believe. I personally don't find this an issue. However, I have also heard that additional costumes have been released which are censored. Now, I generally don't know anything about that, and it's too early to tell, really. I would have to wait a little bit and check to see the game for myself, because there are some individuals that are claiming that some censorship is still there. I guess I'll have to see. But still, I am actually happy with winning small battles, because what this actually did is to get gamers to network with each other, to form lists of friends, to form groups of people that they share things in common with, and to be able to organize and have a say when it comes to dealing with corporations. Because up until now, we allowed the game journalists to have the say for us, but they are completely disconnected from us. In fact, when you read their articles, they have nothing but disdain and disgust for the gamers. So why should they be the middleman when gamers themselves can speak for themselves? And when I say gamers speaking for themselves, I mean there are influencers like Asmongold, like Grooms, like Yellow Flash, many other people that are making content, and they are pulling in far more numbers than all the Kotakus in the world put together. And that's why the journalists are absolutely livid and terrified, is because they can lose their jobs if they become irrelevant. And I think that's where the trend is going, for the journalists to actually do become irrelevant, because they just can't pull the numbers. No one reads their publications anymore. I mean, Kotaku was desperate to prevent this from happening. And this is also why journalists are livid. They're absolutely seething over this change. It's not because they are big Stellar Blade fans or they actually care about any of this. The reason they are really upset is because they are losing their power. Like, they couldn't prevent the company from giving what the gamer wants. And all of this was about principles, by the way. Because Eve, you can play her almost naked. Like she's got this hard mode where it's just like a skin-tight suit. And it's more revealing than any of the costumes. So it wasn't really about the costumes, but it was the principle. Like, the corporations and the journalists want to censor the feminine form for no fucking reason whatsoever in a mature game. Like, rated M for mature. But they're also happy with bear sex, demon sex, LGBT romances and all that shit. Like, they're happy with those. But for some reason, they don't like the male gaze. And people have noticed this. It's like, what the fuck do you have against me? Like, I don't say anything against you. Like, you like your queer romance and that's fine. Like, we're not even advocating for that to be taken away. But for some reason, you're dedicating so much energy on taking away stuff that we like, which is the heteronormative male gaze. So the question is, like, what the fuck do you have against me? Are we having a problem here? Oh, we are having a problem here. Well, okay, then we're going to start our own streams. We're going to start creating our own communities, making our own influence, and you better hope you have more people that agree with you than agree with us. And so far, it seems they don't have the numbers, which is sad. I mean, for an established media company to be unable to pull more than 2 viewers, it is sad. Kotaku, it's very sad. But it is what it is. We're going to see if the censorship remained or not. Again, there are some people that are saying that some of the costumes are still censored. I don't know. But what I do know is that to get to this point, to get to this stage, the left has incrementally won small battle after small battle. Like in the beginning, they were like, oh, you just need to cover women up. Just cover them up. And once they cover them up, it's like, oh, well, the breasts are too big. Just make them smaller. Just make them smaller. Oh, the jawlines, we don't like it. Can you make her more masculine? Can you change the word female to body type A? They didn't do it overnight. It wasn't like, oh, you dress the woman, but she still have big tits. I still don't want to buy your product. No, like they were like, oh no, we're very reasonable people. We just want like small changes. And over the course of 5 years, it got to this point. You're not going to revert this with like one movement. You're not going to revert this with one controversy. It's going to take 5 years for us as well, probably even more, because leftists actually had institutional powers. We don't have our IGN, we don't have our Kotaku, we don't have like our massive platforms. We don't have the Guardian and the BBC to be able to write articles for us. When Grooms gets doxxed, like we do not have CNN talking about it. Grooms doesn't get to go to the United Nations to talk about his plight. Right? So like we're in a position of inferiority. It's going to take a lot more. But I do have faith, because at the end of the day, we are the ones with the money. We are the ones that are holding the cash, and companies actually want us as their consumers. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think. If you want to support the channel, because you guys are the ones with the money, there is a link to my Subscribestar in the pinned comment. And there's also a link to my live stream. If you want to subscribe to that, I stream every day. Hopefully, I will see you guys there. Take care.